Believe it or not, outside of being a Lego fan and doing my videos on comic books and other sort of action-y movies, I'm also a very big fan of artsier films, especially looking at these two books here, appreciating the work of Wes Anderson, who ends up being one of my favorite directors. I'm something of a Criterion Collection DVD collector myself, and I've always said that I have 3 favorite movies in 3 different categories, and my favorite movie for aesthetic and color, which is going to lead us into our video today, being the Grand Budapest Hotel, directed by Wes Anderson. Probably due to their lower box office and less popularity in the general audiences, not a lot of customizers are making some of these artsier film figures. So when I saw on Instagram that Slug Films was making figures from the Grand Budapest Hotel, I had to go ahead and pick them up. These figures were packaged together in one of these plastic cases that a lot of other custom minifigure companies end up using. And I've noticed some different types of them are harder to open than others, like you saw there. Each is wrapped in a tissue paper just to keep them protected. And I'm so excited to take a closer look at these and show them off for you guys. We have Zero as well as Gustave, as you can see right there. And to start with, let's grab Gustave, which ends up being the more complicated of the 2 figures. And I don't think they made very many of these, so they're a little bit more simple. They're not a wide release. So no back torso printing, which is honestly probably fine for this character just because it has the pretty simple suit jacket on. They have some pretty fine details for the Society of the Cross Keys. And I think my favorite part about this figure is that torso with all those fine details and colors that just come together to bring this jacket to life. The colors match pretty well between the pants and the vest there. I think this hairpiece is a painted version of the one from Mr. Incredible originally, done in a darker orange sort of color. The eyebrows and mustache match pretty well with that. And it's just nice to see some pretty smooth wrinkles going in this print. And it is worth noting this is a UV printed figure. I think it's by Minifigs.me. So it'll maybe look a little bit different than your Lego figures because those are pad printed. And like I said, UV print. And from, looking at the camera right now, it doesn't stick out too much as being fuzzy in the details or anything like that. So that's good to see. On top of that, there's another print to show off, being that of the alternative face on the back with him screaming. You can see just printed on the other side of the head. So it's nice to get a little bit more detail with this extra face. Just throwing that hair back on quick. And this is just a very fun figure. I'm so excited to have some Wes Anderson figures in my collection. Let's move on to Zero, who ends up being a bit more of a simple figure, but does feature these mid-legs, so it still has some articulation. And they actually dyed this piece to be a purple, and ends up being a little bit darker than the normal color, but it's cool to have a very unique part like this. It was originally blue and used on a Harry Potter figure. Unfortunately, it doesn't have like the lobby boy markings on the hat. I ended up talking to him, that would have been too expensive to get. If you have a little bit of craftiness in you, you could just get some acrylic gold paint and paint that on yourself. That's what I'm going to end up doing. I might try and get another one of these hats to paint it a purple closer than the torso and legs, just because I don't want to damage this very unique part that it is very cool to have in my collection. I could just paint on this one, but I don't want to ruin the cool work that they did there. The shirt on him is pretty nice and simple, like I said. The skin color on the top of the collar there matches very well with the head used. And all those little buttons are printed out pretty nicely. There's also a thin red line, like you can see there. Again, no back printing on this figure. And because of the hat, you can't have an alternate face, which is too bad, but makes sense. I think my only nitpick with these 2 figures is that on this figure is that I think the eyebrows and maybe the overall face is printed a little bit too high. You could kind of see it when the hat was on, that it is cutting off a little bit. Of course, with this hat, it does rotate a bit and has some different levels of depth as you're turning it. Doesn't cut off the face completely, so that's good. But I just think if it was just a little bit lower, it would have been a perfect figure. But the printing on this, still good. Still really fun to have this figure. I just have an idea that I want to test out quick. That's if it would be compatible with the hair that Citizen Brick makes. It's too bad it is a little bit too short to meet up with the hair, just because Zero ends up having those like kind of tufts of hair just like this sticking out. It would be a pretty easy solution just to paint some black in between the hat and the hair. And you know, it might be worth testing out if I can get another one of these hair pieces for pretty cheap. But I just thought that'd be a little bit helpful. Let's get to the final verdict. And I'm saying this with a lot of bias. What a fun little group of figures. It's always great to get something from your favorite movie. And these are just great little representations in plastic. If you want to see other figures that Slug Films has made, currently they have more figures from other great bits of cinema, like Clutch Powers, but they've also done Benoit Blanc from The Glass Onion. And with these two figures, I'm just glad to expand my roster of characters that have been in Criterion Collection movies, like Nigel here from Spinal Tap. And thank you for stopping by. If you want to see more custom Lego videos, check out all the other ones on my channel. I've been Brick Ratty Up, and I'll see you in the next video.